But if you want to make a great world, then isn't it great if you, like...
Let's have happy people.
If you want to have a great rainbow, don't you want to have each one of those colours just shining? You don't want them all to be kind of mushy, browny greys and all the same, just one colour. The whole rainbow is just, let's mix all the colours together, a dark brown, a poopy colour. That's, no one's going to like to see that kind of a rainbow. We want to see everyone shine, all the different kinds of people. And so I believe that it is counterproductive to not want people to achieve their full potential, which I think very, very few people are doing. And I think a lot of people end up kind of tripping and falling on something that they're good at. And then if it's profitable, then, you know, the world is set up to boost them up. And then they're kind of turned into these
commercialized people.
You know,
but it's funny because we actually
which don't exist. There's no such thing.
Yeah. We laud these people then, even though we try to keep them... I think we're getting off topic a little bit.
We're so off topic, that guys...
Yeah, just a little bit, because there's so much...
Okay.
So much.
Wish you could do
we
that.
just don't want to be, you know... As Francesca said, we're all aware of... There's a bit of a puzza, a little bit of a stink. So, I think rather than trying to put the cart before the horse... and impose or change, like it's trying to impose world peace. It's like world peace is everyone being at peace, and then we all live in the world. You can't just impose a system where. Anyway. So peace comes first.
World peace. We want world peace.
So the opposite of that is fear, and basically that's the current paradigm is ruled by that. And if we want to have a happier world, and like our children and grandchildren grow up in. And they can get out of the bed in the morning and go, what a great day!
Yeah,
what are we going to do today? Then we have to change the modus operandi. We can't just continue the way we're going. And there's lots of little things that we've learned over the years because we've been quite privileged to be in a position to isolate ourselves away from everything for quite a while. Obviously, it's not the easiest way to live, but it's very rewarding at the same time. And
you feel less anxious. I think when you're really...
We've had plenty of practice with fear.
Yeah, yes.
So that we had to come up with this.
Okay, you feel less anxious now because we've had to kind of face fear so many times. And big fears and silly and silly tiny little fears. I mean, we've had to... I don't know, so many. One that... small, like it, well, not small, but it was a flood was in our area, and the flood, and we've had a couple of floods, and they've never gotten into the house. Just somehow our house is about this much up from the road, and it was rising so far, like it was really, really rising, and it was like 3 a.m. or something.
Like so much
and
water.
We were just watching it, and it was still raining, and Joe was like, we have to go to bed at some stage. And I thought, how can we go to bed? It's still rising. He said, well, if we...
And we had a young child as well, obviously at the same time. So you're thinking, okay, we'll have to get him to safety, and, you know, what are we going to bring with us and all this kind of stuff. And it was just kind of like we have to sleep. Because whatever we have to face tomorrow, we have to at least have had some sleep, so we're a bit more, you know, corpus mentis.
Yeah. And that was really...
That was a big
really
jump.
hard.
Like, if you want to talk about the Indiana Jones scene where he puts his hand on his heart and he steps off the ledge into the ravine, and then the path appears. That's one of the most beautiful... It's a lovely image that I have in my head whenever I'm facing a big fear.
We always go...
You know, and you just drop in, and we dropped into it, and I know there's bigger ones out there a lot of people have faced or whatever. I'm just giving an example in our life. And the rain just stopped. I'm not saying that I caused the rain to stop or anything like that. What I'm saying is that, like,
we got into
sometimes you just have to...
Yeah, we let go of it, and then the rain started quieting down.
Yeah.
And even though it was like a monsoon, the road was so fast.
It was a river. You couldn't
like
tell where the road began or ended,
really fast,
and where the field. Because we have a few rivers going down past our houses in different directions, and you couldn't tell where the river stopped and where the road was, where the field was. It was just a lake. You looked outside. It was like literally being on a boat. And it
was just so fast moving. That was.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point. That's just like a little just popped
example
into my head. Of just like having to like literally let fear go. Just have to go. I can't deal with you right now. And and then it was okay. And so many times everything has been okay because we're actually still here.
And even sometimes when you let go and then the thing that you're expecting, I let go now and then this will work out, and it doesn't work out the way you want it to work out, but then you look back at it afterwards, you go, well, it had to work. It worked out better because it didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out. So again, we're trying to control the universe with our minds, with our intellect.
From a point of view that is so small and so caught within the framework of this time, that it's just caught in time, that we aren't looking at it from this, we're very much subjective. We're not looking at this from this lovely objective perspective. So we can't see what's going to happen and why this has to happen. And so we just panic and freak out for many times for no reason. Really.
Remember the tiger?
I will. I had to have that quote in. No one's going to know what that means.
Yeah.
Very few people are going to know.
Soon. But yeah, and just whatever it takes to just put it on pause. Just pause your reaction for as long as possible. And yeah, I suppose for me, I didn't really cover earlier was that it comes back then with a vengeance because it tries to get you. It goes, no, I'm going to come in the back door.
Yeah.
And it's literally the same energy, but it's just going to be wrapped up in a different way. But it's the same technique. That's the golden thing about it. That's the great thing about it. It's your superpower. And fear thinks that you don't have the superpower and doesn't let you know that you have the superpower, and you've never been taught that you have the superpower. But every human has it. I mean, I sometimes make it akin to like.
Maybe getting too loud.
That's fine.
Sorry.
Make it akin to basically like imagine a superhero, the greatest superhero, and all he has to do is just look at his enemy, and they disintegrate. Like he doesn't have to like use laser eyes or force or be super fast or use a hammer like Thor or any of these things. He just literally has to observe them. Literally has to just look at it, and that's the superpower that we all have. We all have it. We just have to learn to use it. And you just look at it, just for long enough to watch it disintegrate, and it just does. And the blood drains away from your limbs. You start coming back to your senses, and the wind has just died down.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
It's lovely.
You regain consciousness.
You regain consciousness. You become aware again. You go, oh, gee, I nearly fell into that. And it's like a game you can play. It's actually quite fun sometimes. You know, if you really embrace it fully, it can be. It's a bit of a game. It's not just like I'm going to try this and then nearly got me again.
It's interesting.
And it's like those guys that they put like one guy comes to the door and says, "Do you have a bug problem with your house?" And they go, "No, actually, I don't really. Actually, I'm not sure. Are you sure?" And then there's bugs, and his partner's gone around the back door and he's putting bugs in. The ego's really sneaky like that, and also the big trap is that. Did I explain that properly?
Yeah.
Yeah. The big trap is that the ego then makes you give out to yourself.
Tell off.
Tell you off, like your ego. You tell yourself off. Oh man, I can't believe I got caught again. That's the ego.
Yeah, that's the sneaky one.
That's the sneaky one. It's like a double. It's like, giving you a hard time for noticing. You just became aware and now you've fallen asleep again.
You just woke up and then you knocked yourself out again.
Knocked yourself out again, and it's all that kind of stuff. And we'll be covering this kind of stuff anyway. But it can be fun when you really embrace it and.
Well, fun I think is.
This was fearful. Doing this
is
especially trudging out the first day in the wind,
yeah.
And looks like we're not going to be able to shoot or whatever, and obviously it can be intimidating looking at this camera and all that, and it's just like
it's
let's
frightening,
just
obviously.
see. And I'm feeling quite comfortable now. It's okay.
Yeah, feeling more comfortable. We're together, and it's this feels lovely. This woods. We're in a woods. You guys can't see behind, but it's a mini wood.
A tiny little
it's
woods.
Like a wood edge.
Bosco.
And it's so cute.
A triangle of woods, basically, and a little river behind.
We used to go walking. We used to call it the dinosaur woods. But anyway, we used to go walking.
You have to explain why it's the dinosaur woods.
No, I won't. I'll leave it like that. And we've just noticed today, as we were walking, so we've got about a 15-minute walk, or 10-minute walk to get here through the fields, and we just noticed that the trees, which I don't know if you can see that one.
On the foothills, or
no, this line of trees. We think they're fakes.
Yeah, well, they definitely look like twigs. Or twigs?
They look like twigs
Almost.
now, but I think that they're fakes. So
some of them are, I would say.
I never noticed figs in here before, but that would be kind of cool in the summer. We can be.
Yeah, this is all going to go crazy with lovely wildflowers and And obviously the mountains are going to change, and all the trees on the foothills are going to change colour. And in the autumn it's beautiful because it's lovely, you know,
like
kind of
patchwork
palette
quilts
of colours. And obviously the snow will be gone eventually, and that'll be lovely, rocky, kind of brown.
But we might have some more
Mountains.
snowfall.
Well, we
in the
hope
next
to.
month.
April usually brings some.
And
Well, it usually brings rain in the valley and snow in the
Yep.
mountain. So, which is essential for us for our water, because we've got an aqueduct up there, and the melting snow feeds into the aqueduct, and it's just the most beautiful water. It's delicious.
Very nice.
And we'll be covering more of that stuff as well with,
Yep.
you know, our approach to whole food diet, because Francesca had a bit of a health scare a few years ago, and then we had to just completely change to like a whole food diet and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of our time is actually spent in preparation of our food, and most of our money is spent on good quality kind of organic food and stuff like that, or growing our own food and stuff like that. And it's just a different way of doing things, and
it takes a lot of time, but I think that if you don't do it, obviously it's nice to have holidays sometimes. It's nice to go to someone's house and them to cook, and you know,
Well,
or
Francesca is a
visit
fantastic
family.
cook.
Thank you. But I think if
Very
you
lucky.
don't do that stuff, you don't scratch like
Yes, like a chicken needs to scratch. You know, you've got like battery hens that don't get to scratch, and they get all arthritic and stuff, and then they're miserable and they make crappy eggs. I've seen it firsthand, you know. And then basically you have the free range eggs that get to scratch, and you have to. I feel that humans need to do certain activities, like when you go out into the woods and stuff like that, everyone usually feels a lot better because you're getting to walk in nature and breathe the air. And even if you touch the ground, even if you can only have like, if you're in an apartment building and you've got like potted plants and you stick your fingers in the soil, it sounds completely nuts, but just for a few minutes, you sleep better.
Yeah.
Like you
Obviously, the best is to go
grounding.
out
You're grounding. Obviously, go out on your
into
feet, like,
real, if
or
you could
whatever.
stand.
But it's not everyone's option all the
No.
time, obviously.
But I think to have a pot plant, even though I absolutely am a pot plant serial killer in our house, I don't know what happens. I look after plants like
Because
that.
we're so busy outside looking
I
after the stuff outside.
I won't even talk about it. It's so embarrassing. But I think if you did live in an apartment, to have some plants, and we have some friends who do live in apartments and in cities, and gosh, it's like a jungle. It's so beautiful. They do just give you good vibes, you know. I think because we're born from nature, we forget that because we grew up in.
Came out
Well,
of
I
the
grew
earth.
up in more concretey type surroundings than you did, and you just forget that. I mean, this should be more our home, and that's why people love, you know, watching nature programs or videos, or if they have a screensaver, it's all nature rather than kind of more man-made stuff. Because it just, I don't know, we think we know everything, but I don't know, to say that very famous quote, I know enough to know that I don't know very much at all.
Yeah. And you kind of recognize that you have a perspective, but it's only one perspective. It's just one slice of the pie. You can't possibly have a 360. I mean, we have had some experiences of enlightened states, if you want to call it that, and it's just ridiculously massive compared to our usual perspective of just this slice of reality. And obviously, it's expanding the more aware we get, but it's still just one point of view, and that's where the whole problem with fear and the whole problem with communication is that you've got two different perspectives trying to
battle it out.
And it's like, no, there's actually more to this, you know, than.
That's why it's so important as well to have kind of communities. Are you cold?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Is to have communities and to form, you know, tribes of like-minded people. If you aren't naturally around guys that get you, you know, it's really important to kind of, if you are on a bit of a journey, if you're just a bit of a curious cat and you're just kind of wondering, just asking questions that people don't normally ask, or just wondering, what is this about, and but what is it when this happens? If you're just someone like that and you feel like you're the only person who thinks like that, you're not. You know, there is so many of us questioners out there who,
and the more you dig, the more you find so
who
much
are
more.
really curious
People are
about
curious.
things. And I think it's really important to find those. I mean, that would obviously be an absolute dream, that if our little conversations manage to inspire people to form be with us groups or something, or I don't know, call them whatever they want, but kind of groups where they could just meet up in real life, not just behind a screen, because I think being in people's physical energy, being in people's space, I think is such a nice
healthier.
thing. And we're so odd right now with our, what is that? It's my personal space. That's
Yeah.
my personal space. I think it would just be so wonderful, and people would just feel so connected. And then you talk about problems, and you be earnest and honest, and say, God, this sucked when this happened, and my reaction to it was terrible, and you know, and then you have to pick yourself up.
Stronger together.
We're so much stronger united, and the world really just tries to divide us all, but we're so much more similar than we think. We all want to love and be loved. There's nothing, you know, controversial about that or crazy. It's like everyone
doesn't matter where you find the love or what way you find your love.
we just want to feel safe. We just want to be with people that we care about, who care about us, and we want to be healthy and happy.
And nurture that which sustains us.
It's like no one's going to argue with that.